Have you ever discovered your therapist was dating your ex at a couples retreat? Jake and I had been seeing Greg for couples therapy for like 6 months. Things between us weren't amazing, but I thought we were making progress, you know? Greg seemed understanding, though looking back now, he always seemed to take Jake's side more than mine. When Jake would complain about me nagging or say I didn't appreciate him enough, Greg would nod and suggest ways I could be more supportive. I just figured that's how therapy worked. Then one Tuesday, Jake told me he didn't want to keep going to therapy anymore, said it wasn't helping. A week later, he broke up with me, just like that. I don't feel it anymore, Kayla, he said. It sucked, but I respected it. Clean break, no drama. My friend Emma convinced me to go to this wellness retreat a month later. Yoga, meditation, nature hikes, the whole deal. She said I needed to get out of my apartment and start fresh. The retreat was in these mountains about 2 hours away. Really peaceful place with cabins and a main lodge. The first day was actually nice. We did morning yoga, journaling sessions, and I was starting to feel like maybe this whole healing thing could actually work. I even made friends with this woman who taught art therapy. The second morning, we were all sitting in a circle doing group journaling when the retreat host said they had a new couple joining us late. I was writing about forgiveness or whatever when I heard this familiar laugh. I looked up and nearly dropped my pen. It was Jake, walking into the circle holding hands with Greg, our therapist. They had matching leather bracelets and everything. The hosts introduced them as a new couple working on emotional bonding. Everyone clapped politely while I sat there feeling like I was gonna throw up. Jake introduced Greg as his partner, like they'd been together forever. Greg was doing this whole speech about how they were exploring vulnerability together. I couldn't move. I just stared at them, putting all the pieces together in my head. All those therapy sessions where Greg would nod when Jake called me controlling. The way Greg would suggest I needed to work on my communication skills while barely challenging Jake on anything. The smirk on Greg's face when Jake would make jokes at my expense. It all made sense now. I didn't say anything during the session. I just watched them. Greg kept touching Jake's arm and they shared this inside joke about morning coffee that made my stomach turn. After lunch, I saw them walking the hiking trail together, whispering and laughing like teenagers. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how Greg had access to everything I told him in therapy. All my insecurities, my fears about the relationship, everything. Had he been telling Jake? Had they been laughing about it together? Around 11, I decided to take a walk to clear my head. I ended up near the hot tub area, and there they were, kissing and whispering to each other like they'd been together for years. I pulled out my phone and took some photos. My hands were shaking, but I got clear shots of them together. The next morning during breakfast, Jake saw me and his face went white. Greg tried to act normal, but I could see the panic in his eyes. I didn't cause a scene. I just packed my stuff and told Emma I had to leave early. She was confused but didn't push it. On the drive home, I called the retreat owner, who is also a licensed counselor. I told her everything about the therapy sessions, the timeline, how Greg had been our therapist just weeks before showing up as Jake's boyfriend. She was horrified and gave me the contact information for the state licensing board. I sent them the photos, a detailed timeline, and copies of our therapy appointment records. Greg had violated like every ethical rule in the book. Dating a client's ex, using confidential information, the whole thing was completely messed up. 2 months later, Greg lost his license. Jake tried to spin it to our mutual friends like I was some crazy ex who ruined his life out of jealousy. But when I calmly shared the timeline and explained how Greg had been our therapist, most people sided with me.